What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan. I'm here with my boy Travis, and we're bringing you the second episode of Trying to Function. This episode is going to be on optimism and pessimism, and I think these are really two solid topics, Travis.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with a lot of this on a day-to-day basis, and I feel like people kind of struggle with today's society and trying to differentiate the two, or I mean, just be uh, optimistic. Yeah, that's the word. Optimistic overall.
I feel like,
I
go ahead.
I uh I used to struggle with it quite often, and I mean, I used to be pessimistic, always being down and poor me, poor this and that. And then it got to the point to where I got tired of it. So I got tired of, seeing people be happy, I guess, and I wasn't. I guess that's the best way to explain it. Like why are they happy and I'm not, but we're going through the same situation right now. So I've become a lot more optimistic. You can ask anybody that I know or that I've talked to, and I've been able to always bring the brighter side of things up and always focus on the plus side of things.
Well, I think that's super important too, like being able to find that silver lining. You get put into a situation, and that situation could be a negative, but every negative has a positive. So you have to really look at, maybe the overall outcome of the situation is a positive, but what you're dealing with right now might be a negative. And that's all in how you are as an optimist or a pessimist, and how you look at things. A pessimist will attribute positive events to external causes. Something will happen, and if it's good, it's because something else made that be good. It's not because you made it be good. And that's the difference in being an optimist is, you attribute negative events to external causes. Like if something bad happened, it's not because you made it bad, it's because an outside force caused it to be negative. And now it's your job as an optimist to find that positive in that negative.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that one. There's always something to look forward to. Whether I've quit plenty of jobs. I mean, the one job that I really enjoyed, I ended up getting laid off from because I had to get my knee surgery. But on the bright side, was able to go get my knee surgery, and I'm doing decently better. I'm not 100%. I mean, it's been a couple years, so things are getting better, and I'm able to start doing jogging here and there and getting back to my active self, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah, that's really good, man. Being active, not staying in the same spot. Dude, like I'm here, in my place, and I just sit here every day, and I do my whole Web3 thing, and I'm a stay-at-home dad. So I mean, I literally spend all day every day, home. So being able to go out, like even if I had a job, just going out, it'd be nice. So I'm glad that you're, starting to get back on your feet, literally. Being able to jog again from, having knee surgery and recovering from that is a wonderful thing. So that's awesome, man. I've had
Yeah,
a
and
sorry, go ahead.
so back to the whole like optimistic side of things. I yeah, I lost my job and whatnot, and it definitely put me in a darker side of things and a bit of a depression because I really enjoyed it. The people there were amazing, and I actually enjoyed doing that work, which is a surprise. Not a lot of people like working, and it's I could have just stayed that way, stayed in the dumps, but I couldn't do it anymore. I needed to do something. I wanted to push forward, so I started doing coding to keep my mind busy while couldn't walk or move much. So I got a little bit still work on, but you gotta surround yourself with kind of like-minded people, and I'm still struggling to do that. I got a few friends of mine that, yeah, they're pretty close, and I've known them for years, but they're always negative, and I don't want that with me or burdening me by any means.
Yeah, I feel like, a negative attitude is only going to hold you back from doing what you want to do because whether you feed off of energy or not, a negative attitude affects the whole room. Anybody that's around that negative energy is going to be affected. And so here you are, trying to be optimistic and see the positive side of things. And then here comes negative Nancy over here, like, you suck. Like, it's really hard to try to be a certain way when you're surrounded by people that are the opposite. And that's why I had to stop, doing what I was doing back in Cali, just going to parties and being out in LA. I had to do something different. I wanted to progress with my life. And so, there's a time and the place for everything. And, there's really not a time and place for being negative. So I think being optimistic is it's good, like being somebody who is an optimist, like you feel that good things will happen in the future. You expect things to work out for the best. You feel like you will succeed in the face of life's challenges. Like something gets thrown at you and you're not going to be like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, this is going to be too hard. You're like, oh, let me try this. Oh, I think I can do that. You have to have a certain mindset. Otherwise, you're just going to hinder yourself from progressing further.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say, optimism and pessimism kind of go hand in hand with, you know, becoming successful at
It's yin and
something.
yang.
Yeah, for sure. Like, success isn't always a one-way street. You're always gonna have bumps in the road, or might have to make a U-turn here and there. Like, I just had to tell one of my employees, like, "Hey, man, like today we're gonna have to next week at least. We're starting you at taking like a small step back, gonna get you comfortable with like moving cars and stuff, and then we'll bring you back over to like the mechanic side of the things. But you don't have a lot of driving experience at the moment, so to combat that, we're gonna help you by putting you into a role where you're only focusing on just driving the vehicles and understanding all that stuff. Before we throw you to the wolves with everything else." And he wasn't too thrilled about it, but after sitting down and talking for, I mean, hell, it was like an hour-long conversation. That was supposed to take like 10 minutes. But I mean, I like to take care of my employees. That's why, I mean, most jobs that I've been in, almost all of the jobs that I've been in, I've always gone in there, as kind of like I don't know, the black sheep, and I'm able to learn things quickly and able to help everybody else out, and then I'll become lead or the manager within a few months down the road. And a lot of people, or at least a lot of the bosses and managers that I've worked for, it's not really the same thing when it comes to them. And it's just the things that they went through, they feel like everybody should go through. And that's why a lot of people, I mean, like all over, like I've seen it on TikTok and a bunch of other places, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, shit. And it's the factor of like the whole 2 week notice situation. Like, if you're quitting a job, you should give you that 2 weeks notice. But a job's not going to give you 2 weeks notice prior to firing you. I'm polite enough, I guess. I mean, I don't like getting rid of people. I always like trying to help push people to be their better selves, and build them up to grow upon something and get closer towards their dreams. And I wanted to be like in the IT field and do coding, build games and stuff like that. And at the moment, I'm working on cars. Kind of, opposite end of things. But I mean, I've always had a passion for cars as well. I mean, I'm not like a big car guru. Like, oh, I'm gonna make my car go really fast by adding all these mods. Like I don't understand any of that stuff. But I know like the basic maintenance and troubleshooting issues and
That's
diagnosing
important stuff
problems.
to know, though. You know, like how to change your oil, how to fix a flat. You know, what happens if your radiator starts overheating. You know, like you don't have to really be a car junkie to want to know the fundamentals of car repair in case you get screwed on the road. So, I mean, it's good to know. It's a good tool of the trade.
Yeah, but I've actually had a few people since I've been at at this job that they weren't happy with it because of the pay, and I mean I don't blame them. I don't get I got I make just barely more than they do, and I don't like it. I wanted to quit and go work somewhere else to get a higher pay, but at the same time, it's kind of like, am I gonna find that same environment that I can bond with, I guess, and be able to help make a better place, or is going to make me a better person overall. And I'm kind of just using this as uh like a foundation to be able to move forward one day, hopefully. But like I was saying, I mean, I've had plenty of employees come through that they don't enjoy the pay, and you know we do a lot of work and get expected of so much just to get paid so little. And they're just like, I don't want to leave this place, but I can't pay the bills. And I'm just like, I completely understand you. Like, I want you to be happy. I'm not gonna force you to stay here just because you feel like you have to. Like, you don't have to stay at a job, but if you want to keep building your career at that place, I'd recommend, trying to move some things around, or unfortunately, I might have to get a second job. So it is what it is. But I'm always optimistic about it. I'm just like, I had one employee quit, and then he called me like a week later. He's like, "Hey man, like I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Everything's going downhill, all this other stuff." And he mid anxiety attack, panicking, almost went to the hospital. And I'm just like, take some deep breaths, talk to me, like let me know like what is your situation right now. And then a couple days later, I was able to help him get a job, making twice as much as he was making working with me, and he's loving it. And I'm not gonna, you gotta focus on yourself, and the first person that you should make happy is you.
100%. I fully agree with that. And that kind of correlates into what I wanted to talk about next is the impact of optimism. You know, like you being a more optimistic person, you can kind of, talk to, like that person that you let go and, they're stressing out and you can talk to them and help them find that silver lining. Optimism's important because it has such a significant impact on your mental and physical well-being. Research has shown that an optimistic worldview carries certain advantages such as better health, greater achievements, less stress, greater longevity. There's so many benefits, and being negative is only gonna, like it's like smiling and frowning. Like it takes so many muscles in your face to frown and make that disgusting face, but then to smile is just so easy, just a few little muscles in your cheek, just side to side, boom, and a smile is so contagious. You don't even have to be talking, you can walk at somebody, you can smile at them and they'll smile back, unless they're a dick or whatever, they're having a bad day. But even if they're having a bad day, you smiling at somebody could turn that day around for them, you know so if you are being, if you feel like you're too negative, you can't find that silver lining, just take a step back, do some cognitive restructuring, you know think about what triggers you, what makes you mad, like write these things down, and then think about the opposites of those things, and think about how you can combat the negative with the positive. Like leaving a job, yeah, it's a negative, like you're out of income, but that opens up a door for you to get another job. It opens up a door for you to find happiness somewhere else that you might not have found at that place.
Exactly. I mean, like it's gonna sound kind of like weird. I got judged for it for quite a while until I started talking to more people about it and they actually started doing this. Whenever you're starting to feel down, uh, just write it in a diary. Like it when I first heard about it and I thought about it, I was like, oh, this is the stupidest thing ever. Like, why would I make a diary about how I'm feeling or why I'm feeling these ways? And it's difficult at first because you're just like, well, I'm just staring here with like a pen and a paper or like a little notepad on your computer, or whatever. I'm just like, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna write about. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I mean, I'll even have like just conversations with myself. It sounds strange, but it honestly works. I saw this thing uh somewhere. I can't remember what social media I saw it on. But one of the biggest things is like if you're ever struggling trying to like find who you are, just take 10 minutes of your time, look in a mirror, look at yourself and just out loud, who am I? And it might take a couple times of saying that, it might even take a dozen times, even more. But once you start to do that and you're able to, I guess, take down that wall from yourself, because a lot of people build up walls to from getting hurt, and they're done with things and so on and so forth. And then you don't realize that you start to wall yourself off from yourself. Sounds like a crazy concept, but it actually happens. You just mentally or subconsciously, you're losing yourself, and that's a lot of the time when people just start doing things on autopilot and not understanding why they haven't gotten really any growth in their life. And you just gotta take a step back and figure out what might be going wrong, or I mean, hell, what might be going right for all you know. You don't want to lose who you truly want to be just to make somebody else happy.
Well, I think you said it right there too. A big part of that is when you start doing things on autopilot. When you start not having emotion in the things that you do and things are just routine, that's when you don't have enthusiasm anymore. It might be a little harder to be positive about things. And I think this coincides with what we talked about last week, the smaller communities. When you're in a small community, it's great. It's a great feeling. Everybody's tight knit. It feels like a family. But then you start hitting the problems of not really growing. Being stuck to that small community. And you start seeing the negatives about it. And that's where you have to start finding ways to pivot, like you said earlier. Find that 180 turnaround where you can say, hey, I can change this. Like I can find the silver lining in this.
Yeah, it's like the whole success situation. Facebook didn't succeed on its first try. They had plenty of different failures and so on and so forth about what they needed to do to be able to get the things done that they had to do to be able to become such a large platform that they are today. And that it's kind of really how anything is. You know, you know, uh, Call of Duty. It wasn't a big or Activision, I guess is a better way to form
They
this.
went through so much crap to make Call of Duty better, and then like they had phases where it was crap again, and then it got better again. Such a
Yeah,
yo-yo with that game.
it's kind of. I guess I'm really just using this like the company as an example. They didn't start off making AAA games, selling millions of copies, doing that stuff. I mean, hell, I don't even remember what their first game was. Nobody really does. And
I think the first one of the first Activision games I played was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. On the
Yeah,
Nintendo 64.
and they don't they don't just build off of one company. A lot of the times, different companies are made up from experts from other companies that are looking for better opportunities. And I guess that's another thing is always look for better opportunities, something to help better your life and moving on from being complacent. And I guess that's kind of how like the whole pessimistic side of things come in is that people are scared. That's the biggest thing. People get scared and then start thinking like if I try doing something different, then everyone's gonna start judging me, and I shouldn't do this because it won't make them happy. Well, nobody cares about what makes them happy. My At least from what I have to deal with or have dealt with, I stopped caring about making others happy because it started putting a huge toll on my life. Because it got to the point to where I I lost myself. I didn't know who I was. I became an alcoholic, and I was one day pulled aside by my roommate at the time, and we kind of just had a severe emotional talk for like 10 hours. And I mean, how we were both crying by the end of it, probably went through like a few boxes of tissues. But like the biggest, I guess, don't be afraid to cry or try and talk to somebody if you're ever struggling. And that's I guess one of the biggest things about wanting to do this podcast is everybody's got their struggles and they're always trying to find ways to get through them. And I want to be that person that can, help you through something if you're ever struggling. I mean, I've helped several people already, and I want to continue helping many, many more. And I never really had that resource, so I want to be able to provide that resource for those who are struggling and trying to function. I kind of play on words with that, and it's something that I've become more optimistic over it. And a lot of times people always ask me, they're like, why are you happy? Why shouldn't I be happy? Like, I'm living, I'm breathing, I'm progressing with what I want to do with my life for the most part, and carrying on. Why aren't you happy? Like, oh, because today sucked. Okay, well, why did it suck? Like, you gotta you gotta understand, not everything's just gonna get handed to people. It does suck seeing somebody that's already more fortunate than you getting better things. I guess
More fortunate.
more fortunate, yeah,
Yeah, getting even more fortunate. Like, where's my
yeah,
bread, bro?
honestly.
I
And
totally
I
get
guess
that, man.
one of the biggest things that I kept seeing is like bad things always happen to good people. And I guess that was just people being pessimists. And I was just like, I mean, yeah, some bad things have happened to me, well, a lot, but not focusing on those in my life. I'm not sitting here like, oh yeah, I injured my knee, I lost my job. It's like, yeah, I injured my knee. Cool, I'm moving on. I lost a couple jobs, but I can build from those experiences. Like, I haven't had a single job yet that I can truly say I've learned nothing from. And being able to find, just something, just even if it's something small, like if you worked at Walmart as a cashier or something, you learn to be able to talk to people. You learn to not, I guess, really judge a book by its cover. You don't truly know what somebody's going through just by looking at their external self. And that's why I always try and carry a smile on my face, whether I'm dead tired, I've been working for 18 hours, or I'm just waking up after a 2 hour nap or something. Like, I always try and carry a smile, be happy, and it's changed my life immensely. Like, I've everybody has always come to me for everything, and I'm just like, I'm not a therapist. Like, I'll just buy you a shot, and then can we just call it good there? And I'm just like, sure. We'll have a talk over a beer or something, and just enjoy our life. That's the biggest thing. You just gotta be there to enjoy something. And if you can't find the good in something, then you need to have that self reflection. Have that talk in the mirror, or write a diary.
Cognitive restructuring.
Yep.
There's 5 steps. I was doing a little bit of research while we were getting into the topics of this, and there's 5 steps that I found. And the first one is identify the situations that are triggering negative thoughts or moods. Right. So that's pretty simple. Obviously, if you're playing a video game and people are irritating you, take a step back from the video game. Don't play that video game for a bit. Number 2, assess how you are feeling in the moment. Obviously, if you're tilted, you're mad, like get off. Number 3, identify the negative thoughts that you are having in response to the situation. Like, are you going to rage back? Like, these are negative thoughts. Like, if you're getting toxic back at the person, those are negative thoughts. Number 4, look at the evidence to either support or refute your negative thoughts, right? Like, are you just in being toxic back to them? Like, is it worth being toxic back to them? Like, is there a reason for it? Number 5, focus on the objective facts and replace automatic negative thoughts with more positive, realistic ones, right? So me and you were playing Valorant earlier, and we had 2 teammates being completely toxic because you were having an off game. We all have off games, and they were cracking jokes. So I decided to be a little toxic to them, like talk shit to them because they were being toxic to you. I wasn't talking shit to them really, like I was just being like, why are you guys being toxic to him? Like, shut the fuck up. And they're like, oh, we're not being toxic. Like, can you guys not see this? And then that affects your mood, like you, Travis, as a player. Your teammates being negative to you is going to obviously affect your gameplay in a negative way, but being the optimist that you are, you muted them, you continued to, play the match out with me, and we finished off the game, so it really is something that you can't just, okay, yeah, I'm going to be positive. Like, you have to work at it. You have to do this cognitive restructuring because as a human, you're built to react. You're not built to adapt. And to be able to adapt is going to make you a stronger person. It's going to give you a stronger character for it. So there's things that tie into being optimistic, and why people struggle with it, and some of those come down to genetics. Some people can't help being negative because their whole family is negative. They were brought up in a negative environment. That's another thing. Environmental influences, like what you were talking about earlier. If you're surrounded by negative people, how are you going to be positive? Like, unless you have the ability to just observe them, see their negative, and stray from it by knowing how to pivot.
Exactly. I mean, like you were saying, the whole cognitive restructuring and being able to identify, the problem, and are you going to react to it, and how are you going to react to it? And we took two completely different, or two, well, yeah, completely different routes. Like, you kind of lashed back out, and I avoided it. I just muted them and I carried on. Like, I don't care what's gonna go on in a video game. Like, I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna continue playing and I'm gonna continue having fun. That's why I play video games. I don't do it just to get pissed off or go and talk shit to people. Like, it. What benefit is that doing in my life? I do it to de-stress. Get my mind off of thinking of Bad thoughts.
All the bullshit that we have to deal with. Yeah, no, what's funny is like if somebody's being toxic to me, I can brush it off. You know, if it's continuous and it's multiple people, then I start feeling a little bit targeted and it's a little harder to just brush it off. But dude, when it's somebody that, you know, is close to me and they're not doing anything wrong and they're getting bashed on, that pisses me off, dude. Cause I'm like, if my homie's not gonna say something, I'm gonna say something. Like, you guys are lucky we're not in person and you guys are acting up like this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hell yeah, man. I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, you can talk as much shit to me as you want. I really don't care. Like I said, I'm becoming a lot more optimistic, and you can take out all your anger out on me. At the end of the day, am I gonna really care? No. Words are just words. You know, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It sounds stupid, but the more you break it down, the more truthful it is. And it's a children's saying or whatever the hell you want to call it. And for a while, I grew up with a lot of pessimistic people in my household, and both my parents are pretty pessimistic. And looking at from the outside, I realized, like, why are they always so unhappy? Like, why are they always yelling for no reason? Like, I had an argument with my dad not too long ago about something stupid. I can't even remember what it was. And he just kept raising his voice, then just getting even more angry. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to have like an adult conversation with you. There's no reason to be yelling at me. Like,
that's
I'm gonna
me,
need you to
dude.
calm down,
I'm
bro.
all about the civil conversations, and then when voices start getting raised, I'm like, okay, if you want to yell, bro, like I did metal vocals for, you know, since I was 13 years old. I can project my voice. You know, like I'm a little dude, but trust me, I'll make my voice louder than yours. You want to start yelling. You know, I don't like yelling, dude. You know, I would rather talk things out civilly. Like, there's no point in bringing aggression into something unless you're gonna fight, bro. Like, you want to fight me? Like, let's fight. But if you want to talk, like, we can talk this out like fucking civil human beings.
Yeah, that's a big issue, and the whole optimism and pessimism. And like the easiest thing to look for is the negatives. That's how society is. That's how most people get raised on, and it's always looking for something bad. Like, what would be a pretty good example for this one? Um, there was I guess, jobs. You could look at it as, either you're
I was
going
gonna
there,
bring up
you're
a job
learning.
situation too.
Yeah, you're learning something, or you could just look at it like, oh, I have to go here to make money. I mean, yeah, kind of have to work to get paid for it. It's kind of how society is. You can't, trade some apples for a car. That's that's kind of, it sucks, but it's how it is. But you gotta, always try and find something that'll help brighten your day, and it'll bring light to every situation. You'll be happier. You'll be able to understand a lot more with society, whether it's the things that are wrong with society or the things that are good with society. It's just perspective, really. It helps you get a wider perspective on everything, and being able to understand certain situations. And I mean, hell, a lot of people tell me I should be going to get my therapist degree, or whatever the hell it's called. Because they're just like, oh, you're such an easy person to talk to. I'm just like, yeah, I try to be. I don't see the point in you know making it a pissing contest on who can complain more. Like, I had a conversation. I tried to have a civil conversation with my boss, and I was just like, hey, my team, we're doing everything that you asked of us, but we're still having some problems with your advisors. Um, I want to kind of nip that in the bud so that we can get things running a little bit more smoothly around here. and get a understanding about where everyone's coming from. And then he just started came back with, "Oh, well, you guys aren't doing this still," and I'm just like, "But we are." And I gave him all the proof that he needed, and then it was, "Well, what about this?" And it's like, "Well, here's more proof for that too." Like, I I always make sure that I have stuff to back up my statements, and I'm trying to get my employees paid more, but they they're always looking for something to nitpick. I mean, there's always small things here and there that that anybody and everybody can fix, but it's all about growth, and I've gotten that team to grow a lot from what they used to be when I first got hired there. And we're doing a lot more work, we're getting a lot more efficient, better quality and everything. And then I get yelled at because one car out of the 400 that we've done this week took a little too long. I'm just like, I don't know what else you want me to do here. Like, yeah, things aren't always going to be perfect, but you got to realize that, I guess, from a manager coming, or management going to management, it's just the type of managing. Like, he sits in his office most of the time, doesn't really do much to talk to his employees. And if you're not going to be somebody that can understand your employees, or be able to be that person that they could talk to, like, yes, there's HR for a reason. They can go talk to them, but it's not the same, because HR is usually a completely different end of the spectrum for issues. Like, that you usually go to them if, like, somebody, I mean, I guess for my example is, like, somebody's like stole my fucking tools or some shit. Like, I'd go to my manager, and then we'd go talk to HR. Like, I'm not gonna go to HR being like, "Hey, I've gotten my team to grow a lot, and I just feel that nobody's getting recognized for it." Like, it just sounds stupid to me. I don't know about you, but I'm not gonna go to somebody that has nothing to do with my job.
Yeah, well, HR is human resources, right? So it's usually, or human relations, So when it comes down to, like inner work conflict, or, like if your boss is giving you some bullshit like quid pro quo or something, where if they're not being up to standards as a boss, or if your coworkers are being shitty coworkers, that's what HR is for. If you want a promotion, if you want to show that you've been busting your ass at work and you want to progress in your job, your boss should be who you talk to, your manager, your on-site supervisor or whatever. And
Yeah.
that's another thing in the workplace. Like, um what was I gonna say? Oh, dude, I had this earlier. Oh, so like, yeah, like promotions, right? Like progressing in the workforce. You could be a negative Nancy and get promoted and be like, oh well, that probably won't ever happen again. They're probably gonna be keeping a close eye on me now. Like, these are negative thoughts that come with being a pessimist. Whereas somebody on the opposite side of the spectrum gets a promotion, they're going to be at work thinking, like, what can I do to get further? Like, oh, I got a promotion that's more paid. That means I can do this. Like, having these positive thoughts and wanting to progress, these are characteristics that are going to come with being an optimist, and they're going to make you feel better about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of time people always talk about, I'm only just gonna work my wage. Well, I mean, if you're gonna work your wage, then why should I promote you if you're only gonna work for what you feel like you're worth? And everybody's got a different, perspective on what they feel like they're worth. And to be honest, I'm right there with them for you know, my what I feel like I'm worth. Like, I feel like I do enough work to be, paid that, 25 an hour. Is it realistic? In my industry, it's kind of a hit or miss. at the current place that I'm working at, absolutely not. Like, as I got when I got my, it was only a small little raise, but it was still something. I'm not gonna, sit there and being like, oh, I'm only gonna work, you know, the wage that I'm being paid because that's all they're paying me for. I go above and beyond to be able to prove like, hey, you should pay me more, kind of thing. And a lot of the time, it kind of fucks over the people below you in a way, because they're just like, oh, well, if they're gonna do this much work for this little pay, well then we're just gonna expect everybody to do that. And that's not how it is. If you're gonna be, that uh black sheep, and the crowd, being able to show that off and you know push that gives you a bit more of an upper hand towards being promoted, rather than starting off working with the same people and then only being there just to get your, like, your annual pay raises or quarterly or however your job does it. And I don't like seeing that. I like seeing people wanting to put in the effort to want to do more. And if I see you, wanting to do more, yeah, I'm going to go, fight with management and see what I could do to, get you to get paid more and have better retention of our employees. And it's difficult to try and find jobs like that, because people, or I guess most managers that I've worked for, they're just like, oh well, that's not how things worked for me. Well, things are changing. Every things change every day, whether it be your job, the weather, like society, like everything is constantly changing. I mean, hell, technology. Like 20 years ago, people couldn't imagine having, such powerful computers and being able to do so much with them now. Or I guess
20 years ago, people were like, YouTube, what's that? People are going to be making money off of that.
yeah, like I was always told, like, oh, you're Gabe, you're just throwing your life away. It's
You're wasting
pointless.
your
Like
time.
yeah, they're just a waste of time. And then now there's content creators making millions of dollars a month, and it's just like, so was it a waste of my time wanting to go pro or being able to make content on this? Like, I mean, hell, what was it, like the first big Fortnite tournament? Some 16-year-old won it.
Bro, it was like over $1 million, that he won from that Fortnite Cash Cup. That's crazy. A 16-year-old doesn't he can't even touch that money, like that's crazy, dude. Like to be able to monetize video games like that in today's age is such an amazing thing, and that's why I will never restrict my kid. Like, my kid wants to play video games, bro, like, by all means play video games, make that money in that cash tournament, take care of your mom and dad, like, I'm gonna support my kid no matter what he wants to do, because I don't know what the future's gonna bring. I can't predict that. Like, I'm getting into crypto and NFTs because I think that might do something 10 years from now, like what YouTube and the internet did. Like, crypto is freaking crazy, and that's something we can go on a whole different episode. But you never know what the future is going to bring, and if you're a little negative Nancy, a little pessimistic punk about it, like, you're going to be restricting yourself. You're going to be restricting your loved ones with that attitude. Stay positive, stay optimistic, stay looking for, reasons to find that silver lining and turn the situation around. Like, dude, if your ship's going down, you look for those life rafts. You look for something that floats. You don't be like, oh, that's it, guess I'm going down with the ship.
Yeah, honestly, I guess that's a great, example for that. But yeah, just it, it's it's one thing just to tell someone to be happy. It's easier said than done. And I completely understand that. And trying to find those ways to become that less pessimistic person. Like it's not gonna happen overnight. Granted, it happened for me overnight because I just woke up one morning just like, you know what, fuck this. I'm tired of being down in the dumps, tired of feeling sorry for myself. Fuck it. I'm gonna make my life better. It could happen like that. Or, it could take you years to work on and, you know, become happier in, whatever situation you may be in and trying to get to that point of where you're actually, enjoying things again. And everybody's got depression, and it's not something to, just brush off. Everyone's got something that, will put them down or, you know, get them, I guess, a bump in the road.
These are their
And
triggers.
yeah, I guess, it kind of, back on that boat of, what was the cognitive
Restructuring.
restructuring. Yeah. And like I was saying, anybody could talk as much shit as they want to me. I couldn't care less. Like I've gone through that. I mean, hell, when I was streaming on Twitch and I was, getting a, I say decent. I was getting like 10 to 15 average streamers, decently active chat, and then all of a sudden, people start coming into my stream telling me to kill myself. I'm not worth it. I'm just a waste of space. I'm wasting oxygen for people who deserve it. Like I just started, I was just like, fuck it. You know what? I'm done. I'm done with Twitch. Like it is what it is. I rebranded and I became a better person overall. And for somebody else, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they've been through. And just to, go into their chat or do something like that, it's stupid.
Dude, you know what's
Like,
messed up is I've witnessed that, right? So I've witnessed somebody getting hate trolled while they were live streaming to the point where that was their very last live stream. Like the next thing I heard about them was on the news. And sad to say, but that shit really happens. Like people get bullied. They could be having, like the shittiest time of their life, and then they look to video games, they look to streaming as an escape because, their friends might come through and talk to them. And then some hateful little pricks come through and, say some heinous things, and that could be the last straw for somebody. You never know what somebody's struggling with or going through. And so that's why there's no room to be negative. Like try to uplift people, try to bring them into that positive light. Like if they can't see that silver lining, you fucking show it to them. Show them that there's there's always there's always more. That glass is always half full or 3/4 full or 1/4 full. It's never empty. Because unless you're completely living under a rock and don't talk to anybody, that's when your glass is empty. Like if I didn't have you, Waffles, if I didn't have my family, if I didn't have my friends, sure, my glass might be empty. But I've got you. I've got my wife. I've got my kid. I've got my friends. Like my glass is fucking, it's not full, but it's getting there. Like I've become so much more positive throughout the years just from being negative. Like I had a lot of anger problems when I was in my earlier 20s, and now I'm 33, and dude, there's no room for all this hatred and negativity that's in this world. And you see all this crazy shit happening on the news, and it's like, where did this come from? Like what caused this kid to go hit up this school? Like what caused this person to go bomb this fucking gathering? Like that shit is crazy to me. And people are battling their demons, they're dealing with shit. So you don't want to be the trigger for somebody to snap. You want to try to help them and keep them from snapping. Like turn them around, help them pivot, help them become an optimist.
yeah, I honestly probably couldn't have said it better myself. And I mean, hell, the last few years that we've known each other, like I've seen you grow immensely, and you've come with a lot of bumps in your road and seen a lot of failure. But I mean, hell, I'm proud of the shit you're doing. You're fucking pushing on through it, and you know, yes,
Thanks,
there's been
man.
days where you're just like, man, I don't know if I could do this anymore. And then we sit down and talk about it. And then you're happy again. It's being as coming from somebody who has dealt with a lot of pessimism and seeing how my optimism has helped out a lot of people. It just makes me want to be even more optimistic. Like there's a lot of people, I guess back to like the whole job situation as well, I'm not gonna like you're not gonna get hired because someone's like, hey, why should I hire you? Or what
Cause you're hiring.
yeah, because you have a hiring now sign on your window. Like, okay, well, why I just like what explain this to me. Like why should I hire you if you're just gonna come in and being like, oh, because I need a job. Like,
Whatever attitude is, it'll
okay,
get you nowhere
so
in
like
life.
a lot of people need jobs, but yet, you know, we still have one of the fucking highest unemployment rates. Like, there's plenty of jobs to go around, but nobody wants to put that foot forward and look for that
See,
opportunity to.
that's another thing we could talk about. You know, like there's so
We'll
many
get more
things
into
wrong
that
with that.
some
Like people don't want to
later on.
work because the pay is so minimum, or like everybody wants a paycheck, but nobody wants to work for that paycheck regardless because of the work maybe or the workforce. And dude, I can't wait to like go on this journey of like doing all these different topics we're gonna talk
we'll
about.
kind of move forward onto that probably next week with like the job industries and stuff like
Definitely.
that. But being a happier person. I'm not saying you have to be happy 24/7. That's from what I've been able to figure out. It's absolutely fucking impossible. I like to say nothing's impossible, but always being happy. I have yet to find somebody that's able to do that.
Closest
And
person I've seen is Willy Wonka, bro. And do you see a smile on his face? Nope.
I think he was happy off of something
He
else.
I don't know. He was pretty happy, man. Living in a chocolate factory, bro. Like, where are they like drinking soda, and, like floating up? I gotta rewatch that movie. That shit's crazy. It's like one of my favorite songs in
The
there, though,
flavor
man.
the flavored uh long lasting gum. I
Oh
think.
yeah, right. Then that person, who was it? Uh, she turned blue like a blueberry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch that movie, bro. It's been so long. Oh my god. Okay, let's get back on topic. We're at like 53 minutes right now. We're gonna get ready to wrap this up.
Yeah, but like yeah, I mean we haven't I mean I guess we kind of touched on pessimism a little bit. But I don't like to talk about being pessimistic because I don't like hearing that word or listening to people being down in the dumps. Like there's always something to look forward to and being able to grow from any situation, whether it be losing your job or I guess most recently with a few close friends of mine, losing someone you love. Like it sucks, and you just gotta realize life's not infinite, and you just gotta make the best out of what you got, and
Bro,
that comes with being optimistic. Not everything's gonna come on a fucking silver platter, and you gotta be able to learn how to bounce back from that, and look forward to things and making the most out of life.
on that note of, losing a loved one, that's a really tough situation, of its own. And there's two sides of that coin, like, yeah, you lost somebody that you loved, that loved you, like you had fond memories in this world with, but were they in pain? Like maybe it was their time to go because there's a bigger plan for them now, and now they can watch over you. Like I lost my grandma on Thanksgiving Day about 9, 10 years ago now, to pancreatic cancer. And it it sucks, like seeing your grandma, like in that last stage, when I had memories, like I used to run away from my mom's house, and my grandma lived across the street, you know, in the retirement home, and I'd go swim in her pool, and dude, I'd go run over there barefoot because I ran away, you know, like I'd be playing outside in the water sprinklers, and my mom would like yell at me or something. I'd go run to my grandma's. You know, like I had so many good memories with her, and then seeing her, you know, dealing with the pancreatic cancer and going through her pain, I was so relieved to see the look on her face, you know, like when she passed, like you could see all of the pain gone, you know, and that was the silver lining for me, was my grandma wasn't in pain anymore. You know, whether she's in another plane or, you know, she's up in the sky watching over us, like I know she's not dealing with what she was dealing with here on earth. And to me, that was the silver lining, you know. So you really have to look at the situation, you know, and think about it, you know, like you might react firsthand, it might suck, you might have some strong emotions that you're, you know, like having to overcome, but there is the silver lining. There always is going to be a positive end to the negative. Whether you believe it or not, if you can't find it, somebody that you know can help you find it. Reach out. You know, like it's really hard to stay so positive for so long that, you know, sometimes you break, sometimes you let go. And you know, like what you said, Travis, you know, like I have those moments where I'm just like, fuck it, like this is it, I'm done, you know. And then we talk, and you know, like I have that shoulder to lean on to snap me back into my place and make me realize like this is just another obstacle I need to overcome. You know, there's a silver lining in it, and I just need to find it. So I appreciate you being such a good homie, man. You're a good dude.
Hell yeah, man. You as well. Like I can't tell you how many fucking I I can't explain the amount of times that I've called somebody, whether it be you, somebody I've known for 10, 15 years now, and we sit there talking, I just start fucking crying. Like that video I sent you on TikTok. Like
No crying
a
alone,
lot
bro. I wanted to
no
bring that
no
up, dude.
crying alone. No crying alone. I don't care what society says about, men or women, whatever that. I don't care. But if you are my friend, I mean, shit, even if you're a fucking acquaintance of mine, find some way to contact me, whether it be through Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, like Discord. Hell, like I don't like seeing people cry on their own because then it'll lead to so much worse things. And when you can have that person that you can cry to, or have a conversation about, like, yeah, I'm going through all this shit and I don't know if I can handle it anymore. It's just like you gotta just when it's better to talk things out, and you know whether it's through text, which I absolutely fucking hate doing, or like a phone call. You ain't got to video call them, just call them, put them on speaker. And if I mean, hell, if you're just crying on the phone to me, I will let you cry on the phone to me. You can do whatever you need to help you get through whatever situation that's going on right now. And I've tried. I mean, I've got several different communities that know me pretty well, and it's just like I get random phone calls in the middle of the night. I don't care. I'd rather you call me than do something stupid. Like my
100%.
phone's always on, and I've got notifications on all of my platforms turned on. So you message me saying, you need something, I got you. Like, I'm not a therapist by any means. I don't claim to be, trained in any of these fields, but I enjoy being that person that somebody can call so that way they don't do something dumb. And, one of the biggest things that, made me do these kinds of things was at my first job. Me and one of my coworkers got really close, and we'd go out, have a few drinks, or we'd go out to eat, go out to parties, have a good time. And I got pretty close with his family. And then one day, I came into work and he wasn't there. and I couldn't get in contact with him, and his family wasn't talking to anybody, and I was just like, well, what the hell's going on? And uh, come to find out, he ended up going out on a drive and then just went to a parking lot and took his life. And
That sucks,
I
man.
felt like I was the cause of that because I didn't put myself out there enough to be able to help him going through such a rough situation. And
You
I
can't put
don't
that on
take those.
yourself, though, bro.
Yeah, I mean it's been 9 8 8 9 years, and it's still a struggle to this day, and it's tough going through that. And I mean, hell, being able to talk to you and understand, and a lot of my other family and friends, not, when someone takes their life, it's this shitty situation, but you can't you can't be sad about it all the time. Yes, it takes different times for people to be able to um, recuperate or manage with the um, the pain from that.
Coping with the loss.
Coping, that's what it is. But it's a shitty situation, and you know I was always reminded, was his last breath telling you you should be, upset about this, or that you don't deserve to be happy. Like it wasn't. Like, and the more I kept telling myself that, the easier it made it to be able to overcome, his passing. And we didn't have he refused to let anybody do a funeral, and he made it very explicit that he wanted his, when he did pass, he wanted it to be a celebration of life. And I respect that 100%. You should never, be. I guess I really shouldn't say never about that. Like, some people want, to have a funeral and remembrance and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you should be, celebrating their life, celebrating the time that you had with them. Sorry.
No, I totally get
And
what you mean, for sure.
being able to, move on with it, and it shouldn't be something that's that's I mean, it is sad, but what will help is, the celebration of life, celebrating the times you guys had with them. And that's why I try and do that, kind of thing with people that come to me. It's just like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. It's just like, let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Talk about each, situation, scenario, or whatever's gotten you in this situation, and then we'll start talking about, like, the good times and the things that have come from the things that you've done, and what is to come with those scenarios, or whatever you have going on that's putting you down in the dumps, and help look towards the brighter side of things, be more optimistic about it, and understand, like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna put my, my right foot or my left foot forward and move on. I'm gonna take a small nap, recuperate, wake up, do something better. Like, being able to understand that and be more positive about, the situations. Like, there's a lot of times where I don't like to call people when I'm down in the dumps, because I don't want to feel like a burden. And that's a word that I hate saying, because you are never a burden. Nobody is ever a burden. Yes, you have shit on your plate. Everyone's got shit on their plate, but it doesn't matter. You can never be a burden to somebody. Don't make don't let anybody tell you that you are a burden, whether it's, relationship, family member, whatever. That is the biggest thing, that is, I guess, one of my pet peeves, is hearing that. is when someone's comes to me and they're just like, I just feel like a burden on my family. No, you're not. You are here for a reason. Don't tell me you are just a burden. You're not here to just drag everybody down. They may make it seem like you're dragging them down, but that is their problem. That is
Those
because
are the
they're not
negative
happy.
people that you're surrounding yourself with that you need to get away from. Whether
Exactly.
that's friends, whether that's family, whether that's a significant other. If they're toxic, if they're negative, and you're trying to be positive, you need to pivot.
100%. And I kind of want to end this off with, being able to have that self reflection. Oh, sorry. Allergies are bothering me right now. Being able to have that, self recollection and that, I can't remember what it is. And you said it like 10 times.
Cognitive restructuring.
That. Being
Yeah,
able to
it's
do that,
just a fancy way of saying, basically reevaluate your mentality.
exactly. And yeah, whether it's writing a diary, talking, cutting people off that, yeah, you may have known them for years, but are they benefiting you? And being, and, I, I was just talking to somebody about this too. These things sound stupid about, making a diary or, talking to yourself in the mirror. Sounds psychotic, especially the, talking to yourself part. Sounds strange as hell. But I did it because, I was looking for new ways to restructure and it helps a lot. I can't express how much that has helped me out with being able to restructure how I thought about certain situations or feeling lost.
But
So I think that kind of wraps up the episode with, optimism and pessimism and how to
yeah,
combat the two.
definitely. We covered a lot of good ground on that. I appreciate everybody that's been listening in. If you guys have any input, any comments, for what we talked about in this week's episode, if you're listening down on Spotify, there's actually a questionnaire, a little thing at the bottom or at the end. I'm not really sure where they put it, but you can write some questions to us. We'll answer them. We actually plan on interviewing some people, in future episodes. I have my friend Alan that, has some topics that he wants to talk about as well. So super excited for that. Um, Catch you guys in the next episode next week. Thanks for tuning in.